The pain was, like nothing I've ever experienced. It was horrible. And I remember calling him and calling my parents, and everyone kind of showed up, and they admitted me, obviously. And I'll never forget that next morning, the doctor coming in and saying, your kidney function is not good and you're probably going to have to start dialysis. And that just kind of completely rocked my world.
Could probably back up to the actual day of the engagement. Was kind of a funny story. I was going to take her out that night on the boat and ask her to marry me. And that morning, her aunt got on the boat and went to back it up and slammed into another boat. And so I didn't really have a lot of experience driving a boat to begin with, and so I see this, I'm involved in this boat accident. So I ended up actually just asking her on the dock. And so she's talking to me all about life, and how she's going to be this nurse and all this long drawn out stuff. And I'm sitting there with this ring in my pocket, sitting on a dock, thinking, man, I hope I don't drop this ring, in the water. It's nighttime. So, eventually I obviously was able to propose to her.
Get a word in.
Yes. And
About 3 months after we got married, we were just at our apartment, and I started getting pain. It was pretty bad, but the next day was my first day shift, and I kind of just worked through the pain, and about halfway through my shift, I couldn't even see straight. It was so bad. And I remember just telling the charge nurse, I have to go, and I ended up going just straight down to the ER.
I didn't think it's possible that she might die from the amount of pain that she was in. She was in that much pain. It was just incredible. So they kept pumping her full of pain medication, trying to get under control.
We both knew that we wanted kids. The doctors kind of told us not to have kids, especially at that point, and with my kidney function being so low. They thought that getting pregnant would kind of send me into kidney failure, and just said that it was not a good idea to try to have kids, at least not at that point.
My phone rings and it's Zach, and he said, we're at OSU with Lauren. I'm like, oh. And I said, what's going on? He said, and there was kind of a long pause. He goes, she's pregnant. I'm like, again, there was another long pause. And so what was amazing, and this has got to be, had to have been a gift from God, is that her kidney function actually went up during the pregnancy. So the doctors described it as her body going into safe mode. And then after the pregnancy, that's when her renal function just took a nosedive.
I've always been a daddy's girl, so I think it was just completely natural for him to want to donate, which is amazing, but at the same time it brought a lot of fear for me, because what if something did happen to him?
Anything could happen, when she gets down there. They get the kidney out of Larry and go to put it in Lauren, and it's just all in God's hands at that point, and,
right.
and the surgeons. And
there's
so
always that chance of rejection, which is kind of in the back of your mind going through all of it too.
All the way through the journey, I just knew God was with Lauren at all times. And so as we got through each stage of what she went through, I didn't never look ahead though. I just was always grateful and thankful, and I think that's really important too, is when you go through something to be so thankful, and appreciate what you went through, how you got through it, and what God really did.
Yeah, so now we're 3 years out. Now we have another little girl, Ren. My kidney numbers are all great. They've all been really stable throughout the whole recovery process.
I think a lot of times you just wonder, why God puts you in these situations. And, we were a young married couple, and we had to, experience some really tough things very early on.
God, He always showed up for us. He blessed us more ways than I can count. And, He just kind of through the hardest times would always give us these little reminders, like, I'm here, I got you.
Literally, he had us on a journey. And I have to be honest, there were times when, I was on my knees looking up. There was only one way to look, and that was up, during the difficult times. You can't be any closer to God when you're broken like that and you're looking up and you're just so reliant on Him. You know what I mean? There was nobody else to rely on at that point in my life except for Him.